the sky
Mhm.
and aim higher over here, okay?
Mhm. I love that. I've never heard anyone say that. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So, we can credit to me. So like I said, we
Yes,
don't aim for the sky, we start from the sky and aim higher.
aim higher. That's right.
Yeah. But for you, as you mentioned, Mandy the yogi, and I know we're going to talk about how yoga can be used to heal trauma, and so many of us have trauma. Some are aware of the trauma they have, some are unaware of the trauma they have. So do me a favor, introduce yourself, tell my audience where they can find you, and of course, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I would love that. So, government name is Amanda, which some people call me that, but I go by Mandy. I am a yoga therapist. My company that I run is Blooming Moon Yoga and Holistics. You can find me on Facebook under that name or Blooming Moon Yoga underscore on Instagram. I'm also on Patreon, but that is messy and meaningful with Mandy. That's another little passion project that I've kind of started. It's been on the back burner and started. Um, but yeah, so a little bit about me. I am a mom of three. I have two babies here on earth and one in heaven. And I rescue potbelly pigs on my on my other passions that I love to do. I like to garden and be outside in nature. Yoga and this practice that I preach found me at a very, very vulnerable time in my life after I had my first son. And it is something that means the absolute world to me because I know of its healing powers and I know that what it can do for somebody. So I really love to emphasize that this wellness journey that you're on, it is about you and finding what works for you, and it's not a one size fits all experience. There's going to be practices that work today that don't work tomorrow, and being authentic, showing up as yourself. I will preach that. My the people that I've worked with know how authentic I am. I am a human being and a human being first. And I don't have anything to prove. I'm not better than anybody. Just because I'm educated does not mean that I'm better than you. Um, and I love having that approach too, not only helps build trust, but I love to be able to have the time to hear people's stories because we all are so similar in some of these experiences that we have. So being showing up as I am and who I am truly to my core has gotten me to meet the most beautiful humans and have these conversations with people who are far and wide. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you for such an introduction. Like I said, right, like we introduced you as like the yoga goddess, and then we took a step down, but then we're going to take a step up in
Yeah.
many steps in regards to this. So when you mentioned that yoga found you in a place at a time in your life where you really needed it, what were you going through that yoga found you to help you along your journey?
I was in the throes of postpartum depression. And so I've been practicing yoga, physical practice, for 20 plus years. I've been doing physical yoga since I was 17, 16 years old. But when I started to study yoga was when I was in the throes of postpartum. And it was one of those things that I was open to really trying anything at that point because I was sliding into rock bottom emotionally. I had felt very lost. I needed direction. And a local studio to me was having a teacher training. And it was one of those things that you see it and then you kind of go, huh, that's interesting. And then you kind of blow past it and then you think about it later. And it was very much on in the back of my mind of that was really interesting. It really like grabbed me in that way. And I couldn't let it go. I like the next day, I was like, I think I need to revisit that. I need to give that a go. And I had signed up for like the informational meeting and I went and I was sold. I it was It was, you're going to learn how to teach and deliver this material. You're going to learn the philosophy. You're going to learn, and it was a very basic yoga instructor training. It was a 200 hour, which is generally where you start. And, that cracked the nut wide open for me because now here I am many, many years later in the throes of yoga therapy studies. But it was where I started. And it was one of those things that, for me personally, it pushed me in a way that nothing else has ever pushed me before. I remember the day that I hit my plateau of physical work and mental work, and I cried that day. And I'll never forget that because it was me, I've done everything I know how to do. My body was showing up for me, but it was like, okay, this is the level up. This is the transformation right here in this moment. And I broke down, and I remember just sharing with my cohort kind of where I was and how I was struggling. And then after that, it just exploded. It lit the fire underneath of me. And I was reading all of these beautiful texts and, teaching people. And I graduated, and this was the first time that I had really ever finished something for me. This was a journey for me. So being able to teach that final class that I had to teach to graduate, the room was full of my friends and my family. And I could tear up just thinking about how beautiful that was. And that was it. I was sold, I was ready to go, and I hit the ground running. And that program, it changed my life. Yoga literally changed my life, that 200 hours. So, and I just went from there and learned and studied and practiced, and here I am.
I've noticed that when I speak to a lot of coaches or therapists or those who are assisting others with trauma, they've gone through something themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they found out that, where when I was at my lowest, this helped me.
Yep.
And then another question I always ask them, and I'll ask you this, is now that you've come out of your trauma and that is still a part of your journey, but it's in your rearview mirror, how much of your past self do you see in the clients that you work with?
That is a really, really good question. And it's funny you say the trauma's behind me. I'm still working on me. The work has never stopped. But being in a mental health clinic and working with all of these different clients, there's time to time that I'll see glimpses of myself, but there's also times that I see glimpses of other people that I'm close with. And man, that is just such a good question because you can't fix people. And it's very, very important to note that because I'll come across those people where, wow, this is so familiar to me. These behaviors, these words, these actions. And I have to go, I can't let myself kind of fall back on past experiences. I have to keep looking at it as something fresh and something new. And there's some times where past instances will inspire me and will be like, oh, you know what? This technique I feel like would have worked for them. Maybe we can try it and work it. But I really try not to operate from that space just because you can get clouded from past experiences and past instances. Um, but that doesn't go to mean that I don't honor it in any way. I extend a lot of gratitude towards myself, um, and the lessons that I've learned in this very long journey. And that gratitude is, I think, what grounds me down to be able to keep working with people. Because it's really easy, I think, and where people get caught up is where most of us who've had those experiences and we can practice from that space of this has helped me. I really know that it's going to help you. That's what makes it very authentic. But then, and that's what makes those experiences very important because you can learn from those and pass it on. But really, really being grounded in the fact that this is what you're doing and this is who you're serving. and really trying to take the conditions and the side effects out of it, because and that's what makes yoga therapy so special, is that you are addressing the human, not